Israel must urgently transfer the customs revenues owed to Palestine and restore banking correspondence between Israeli and Palestinian institutions. Plans for annexation, whether partial or total, legal or de facto, represent a red line to which we will respond strongly, together with our European partners, should they be implemented. In this regard, we have rejected any instrumentalization of the Palestinian cause, which can in no way serve as a pretext for universal anti-Semitic hatred. There is no excuse or justification for it. Therefore, first and foremost, I would like to thank His Excellency, the President of the State of Palestine, Mahmoud Abbas, for his visit to Paris. This is an important visit, as it is the first visit by a Palestinian president since France recognized the State of Palestine on September 22, 2025. We meet in the wake of the New York conference and the plan presented by President Trump, and in the aftermath of the ceasefire in Gaza reached under his auspices. At this crucial moment for the future of both the Palestinian and Israeli peoples, as well as for the region, I want to reiterate France's deep conviction that only the two-state solution will allow the Israeli and Palestinian peoples, and more broadly all the peoples of the region, to live in peace and security and to fulfill their legitimate aspirations. As I said on September 22nd, it is much more difficult to make peace than to wage endless wars. But today there are partners for peace. You can count on France, Mr. President, to continue moving forward along the path we have charted together, to keep advancing based on the 20 points proposed by the United States of America, which open the door to peace and the establishment of a Palestinian state. It is for this purpose that today, together, we have decided to set up a joint committee for the consolidation of the State of Palestine. This committee will be responsible for working on all legal, constitutional, institutional, and organizational aspects. It will contribute to the work of drafting a new constitution, a draft of which President Abbas has presented to me, and will aim to complete all the necessary conditions for such a state of Palestine. You yourself are a partner for peace, and in this regard, I want to pay tribute to your consistent rejection of violence and terrorism, which was notably demonstrated by your condemnation of the attacks of October 7, 2023. I also thank you for your commitment to ensuring that the Palestinian state guarantees the security of its territories without becoming a militarized state. We will need other courageous decisions from all stakeholders in the coming months. Finally, I thank you for the clarity of your words and your unequivocal condemnation of all forms of anti-Semitism. Your visit, Mr. President, comes 1 month after the ceasefire was concluded. This ceasefire allowed for the release of all living hostages by Hamas. The parties must now fully respect this agreement, and Hamas must return without delay the remains of the deceased hostages so that we can move without further delay to the implementation of the second phase of the ceasefire plan. France is ready to contribute to the stabilization of Gaza in the security, humanitarian, and political spheres. We will do this in close coordination with the Palestinian Authority, the United States, Israel, and all regional partners. In Gaza, the priority is the humanitarian emergency. The immediate, safe, and unhindered delivery of humanitarian aid throughout the Gaza Strip must be ensured under the auspices of the United Nations and in accordance with the principles of international humanitarian law. In this regard, France will once again contribute 100 million euros to the humanitarian response for 2025. Emergency humanitarian deliveries will be made to provide several hundred tons of nutritional supplements, especially for children, as well as medicines and medical equipment. We will contribute to the recovery of the health sector through a project by the French Development Agency and the International Committee of the Red Cross. France will fully play its part at the reconstruction conference to be held in Cairo. On the security front, the stabilization of Gaza requires the redeployment of the Palestinian Authority's security and police forces to ensure daily law and order. In coordination with the mechanisms currently being discussed at the United Nations, France is ready to work towards strengthening the Palestinian forces for this purpose through the European Union missions EUBAM Rafah and EUPOL Corps by significantly increasing the French presence with more than 100 gendarmes. In terms of governance, France does not want to see Hamas re-establish itself and resume, looking ahead, the control of the Gaza Strip. That would be a collective failure, and this is why it is urgent to work towards the swift return of the Palestinian Authority to Gaza, excluding Hamas from any role in the governance of the enclave and implementing the demilitarization and dismantling of Hamas. I encourage President Abbas to quickly finalize, within the framework of inter-Palestinian discussions and with our partners, the formation of the Palestinian Technical Committee. The transfer to the Palestinian Authority must then take place swiftly once its reform agenda has been implemented. If I turn to the essential reforms, these were detailed in the New York Declaration and reiterated in the 20-point plan. They are a sine qua non for the establishment of a viable, democratic and sovereign Palestinian state alongside Israel. In this regard, we reviewed with President Abbas the implementation of reforms by the Palestinian Authority. The priority is to organize free, transparent and democratic presidential and general elections throughout all Palestinian territories, including East Jerusalem. President Abbas has committed to holding them 1 year after the transition to the second phase of the ceasefire, and I thank him for that. Actors who have not renounced violence and have not adhered to the PLO's principles will not be allowed to participate in these elections. President Abbas also confirmed to me the abolition of the prisoner payment system and the launch of an independent audit to verify this. I welcome this development, which is essential for the credibility of the Palestinian Authority, both in itself and in the eyes of all international partners. The President assured me that no further payments would be made in this context and that an audit would ensure this. We agreed on the importance of reforming school textbooks, which must exclude all hate speech in accordance with UNESCO standards. We will work on this together with all our partners and also by closely involving UNESCO. Finally, we discussed the alarming situation in the West Bank. The violence of the settlers and the acceleration of settlement projects are reaching new records, threatening the stability of the West Bank and constituting violations of international law. As I have said before, annexation projects, whether partial or total, legal or de facto, are a red line to which we will respond strongly, together with our European partners, if they are implemented. We also addressed the risk of financial insolvency of the Palestinian Authority. I reiterated France's ongoing support, particularly through our bilateral budgetary aid. And the Emergency Coalition for Financial Sustainability launched with Saudi Arabia. Israel must urgently transfer the customs revenues owed to Palestine and restore banking relations between Israeli and Palestinian institutions. No one can understand a policy that undermines the only partner capable of cooperating on security and standing against the inevitable explosion of violence that would result from its collapse. While October 7th was followed by an unprecedented rise in anti-Semitism around the world, President Abbas and I have reaffirmed our absolute and unequivocal condemnation of it, both in France and everywhere in the world. In this regard, we have rejected any instrumentalization of the Palestinian cause, which can in no way serve as a pretext for universal anti-Semitic hatred. There is no excuse or justification for it. Finally, I thank President Abbas for the arrest of one of the suspects in the Rue des Rosiers attack. This act represents an important step toward bringing justice to the victims and their families, more than 40 years after this heinous crime. Our services are cooperating with a view to extraditing this individual. This visit today marks a new and crucial stage in the relationship between France and the State of Palestine. And it opens a new phase of joint work for peace, security, and dignity for all in the region. Today we had a substantive discussion and made important commitments together. I know I can count on President Abbas, at least through the establishment of this joint committee. France wants to play its full part, both in providing humanitarian aid, ensuring security in Gaza for the return of just governance, and advancing the path of the two-state solution, which is the condition for the Israeli and Palestinian peoples to be able to live in lasting peace. Thank you, Mr. President.